again, and welcome back to our annual Risk Manager Seminar, 2021 style, where we're meeting with Randy Barkley from Rain & Hail. Randy has got a lot of updates, and we've talked about several things. And we kind of want to just give everybody reminders about things that you need to consider before March 15th. Randy, you want to just kind of talk about that and remind folks of what they need to be mindful of prior to March 15th.
You bet. Thank you, Alan. And it's great to be with you today. So we're in that mindset in the next, leading up to March 15th about risk management, right? So this is that time of the year where we're gathering information to make decisions about the kind of safety net that we'd like to have, in place for our spring crop. So know that, first of all, that the most important date to be mindful of is March 15th, right? So March 15th is the sales closing date coming up, whereby that's our deadline for any coverage changes or elections that are associated with the multi-peril crop insurance program. And so just some things to think about as we move forward, in the days that lead up to that, is how we want to package together a complete risk management solution that helps to provide a solution to those things that keep producers up at night. For example, are we wanting to protect against yield decline, against price decline, or some combination of the two, I suspect? And have we had historically quality-related issues? Has hail been a concern in the past, or perhaps wind, where we may have had green snap issues or some other wind event that's caused notable losses to our crop? Is replant something that is of great concern? Have we had a number of issues or experiences there in the more recent years? So there are solutions through producer demand. And not only are there all kinds of elections for multi-peril, there are also a number of private products that are available to help supplement or augment the coverage that's available. Some of the things that are more newly available for the 2021 crop year is the new quality loss option, which we spoke about in an earlier segment, and also that of the enhanced coverage option. The quality loss option, of course, is something that's designed to help restore years or yields in years where there were quality adjustments that took place due to something like vomitoxin. And the new enhanced coverage option is a new band of coverage that, albeit it triggers at the area or county level, but is designed to further augment the policy, providing some coverage for the deductible portion up above the underlying multi-peril. The same is true of the supplemental coverage options. These two are designed to complement one another, and they can be elected together or one or the other. And then again, I mentioned there are also some private products, crop hail coverage, which is popular across the Corn Belt, providing for spot losses due to catastrophic hail events. There's also some additional coverage built into hail policies for things like vandalism, field fires that might occur that are non-naturally occurring. For example, if there was some sort of burn taking place and it got out of control and burned some standing portion of the crop, or even worse, if a combine happened to ignite and go up in flames and cause some crop losses, that crop hail coverage is designed to also provide some protections for that. So these are all things that can be taken into consideration. Your crop insurance agent, and more importantly, your Rain & Hail crop insurance agent, can help to guide you through this decision-making process. We'll also talk in a moment about some of the supplemental products that are available.
Well, Randy, we talked about deadlines up to March 15th. After March 15th and you've purchased the coverage, there are some other planning dates and stuff that you need to be familiar with.
Yeah, I thought it was notable also to talk about, so right behind sale closing, we know that spring will quickly arrive, right? We'll all be looking forward to sunny, warmer days and the opportunity to start a new crop year and full of new opportunity. So things to be mindful of are the initial plant dates for both corn and soybeans for growers across the state. What we're seeing on the map is we have two initial plant dates, April 5th, that's more southwestern quadrant of Ohio, and then for much of the rest of the state, it's April 10th. Now, know that if there's an opportunity and a crop is planted in advance of these dates, it doesn't affect the coverage other than makes them ineligible for replant coverage. So, for example, here in Auglaize County, we have an initial plant date on corn of April 10th. Any corn acres planted prior to that would not be eligible for replant if we had an opportunity to do that. And then I'll also share those dates for soybeans because I think those are more notable when we look particularly across, I'll say Auglaize County and the surrounding counties. That date is April 24th. And again, the only impact on the underlying policy is that it was replant coverage they plant prior to those. There are a couple other dates in the state of Ohio as we begin working our way south of the state of Ohio. We do know there's an April 20th initial plant date, and then as we get to very southwest Ohio, it's April 15th. But it's important to talk to your crop insurance agent and understand what those dates are because they are notable. Now, as I talk about replant, know that the industry has created private products to help augment or supplement, coverage in an area like this. So here at Rain and Hail, we have a product called Replant Extra. Know that it does a couple of things besides providing additional coverage or monies for replant above those included in the multi-peril policy. For example, a producer, if they're planting, corn producers in Ohio can elect an additional $60 of coverage. That's in addition to that in the multi-peril policy for corn, and up to an additional $50 for soybeans. Those are just the limits. They can elect levels lower than that. There's couple other benefits that are included is that with our Replant Extra policy, or they can add coverage begins on the very first acre. For those who have had a replant experience with multi-peril policy, they may remember that coverage begins based on the 20-20 rule, meaning it's the lesser of 28, the minimum of lesser of the 20 acres or 20% of the unit in which replant is occurring. So coverage with Replant Extra starts on the first acre. And then as we talk about those initial plant dates, and if we're planting earlier than those, again, we lose the multi-peril coverage, but the benefit is with the Replant Extra is that additional coverage that the producer is purchasing buys up the initial plant date by 20 days. So there's an early plant coverage included of 20 days in advance of that early plant, or initial plant period. So for growers here in Auglaize County, where we have an initial plant date on soybeans of April 24th, this would take our early plant date to April 4th. And again, it's only applicable to that replant coverage. The underlying coverage is not affected. And then there's also a continuous option. So that means that once they've elected from year to year, the coverage will continue unless they choose to cancel. But it's a great option, particularly in some of those heavier, wetter soils and in instances where we may be planting earlier. So talk to your Rain and Hail insurance agent about how Replant Extra might work.
Well, Randy, we've talked about the Replant Extra as an additional coverage. What other private products do we have that would allow the producer to buy a lot more additional coverage?
Yeah, again, so great question. And we do have some private products that also provide some additional coverage on top of that of the multi-peril coverage. Now, we spoke earlier about enhanced coverage option and supplemental coverage option, and those are endorsements to the multi-peril product. Those are not Rain and Hail products. Those are called a part of the multi-peril program. We have a revenue supplemental called Revenue Price Option. It works very simply, and it allows the grower or producer an opportunity to buy additional coverage on their own experience. So it, in effect, increases the underlying coverage that they may currently have. So we'll call that revenue protection. This is just a simple slide with nowhere near all the details, but do know that it allows or provides an opportunity to buy coverage up to an effective level as high as 95%. It's important to talk to your Rain and Hail agent to understand the exclusions and rules of the program, but it works very simply by adding additional monies to the projected price. So, for example, on corn, they can buy that projected price up to an additional 50 cents higher, and on soybeans up to an additional $1.20 higher. So it's adding money to the projected price, which in effect increases the coverage. And unlike the enhanced coverage option or the supplemental coverage option that we spoke about earlier, which are great elections or alternatives, this is designed to work with the underlying policy in that it provides coverage specifically on the producer's own experience versus at the county level experience.
Well, Randy, we've covered a lot of things, in our segments about options and endorsements that's available. But it's kind of important. Another part of that is that we have available, Rain and Hail has available, and we do here at Allen Davis Insurance, technology to make the decisions much easier and much easier to understand for the producer.
You bet. So one of the things that we're really focused on at Rain and Hail is making the process as easy for the producer as possible, and that of the agent to put some tools in our agent's hands so that they can help their producers work through all the choices. One thing that certainly continues to happen with the crop insurance program is that there's additional complexity that's added. But with the complexity comes about by the fact that the program has continually been refined to be enhanced. More choices mean that the program can be best customized to a specific producer's needs. That's what's exciting about the multi-peril program. It continues to experience that kind of refinement so that it works better than ever. But with more choices, again, many may think that adds complexity because it means we have more decision making to weigh through. So here at Rain and Hail, again, we're focused very heavily on technology. Your Rain and Hail Insurance Services agent has tools for purposes of helping to pre-plant acres or map acres that are beneficial. So we can work through work through a planting plan to help identify where acres are intended to be planted for the next crop year. That's beneficial. Then as we work through that process and helping understand what the approved yields are, and we can pull that information right into our quoting and decision-making tools that help provide a better understanding about the kind of coverage that the grower would like to put in place. So they're very intuitive. The producer also has some tools online. So if you have a policy with Rain and Hail, you can create your own online account, and some of those tools, including quoting, are available to our policy holders if they like doing business that way. In today's world, where we're getting increasingly more acquainted with doing business in a little different way, right? So, in fact, many of these meetings topics that we're talking about today we would have discussed them face to face. And so we also have put all kinds of tools in place that allow our agents to do business with producers, where it provides for where it's desired for maybe needed for a more safe environment to do things like electronically signed documents, etc. So talk to your Rain and Hail Insurance agent about more details on how our technology might be a benefit.
Randy, thanks for being with us today. And for more information about the topics we've covered, give us a call or stop in one of our offices to visit with Denver on. I will be happy to walk you through the process and talk about any questions or concerns you might have.